What is up, my bodyweight warriors, and welcome back to another video and another episode of the Do It Right series. This is a series in which we dissect and take apart different stretches, different muscle groups, and look how you can perform those flexibility, mobility exercises correctly. Today's episode is going to be on the German hang. This was the most upvoted comment on the previous episode. If you do want to suggest the next episode or the next topic, leave a comment down below, and if it gets the most upvotes, I will make a video on it in the Do It Right series. German hang is a position in which the shoulders are an extreme shoulder extension. So this is going to provide a stretch for our biceps right into the shoulder and also into the pec. It's a pretty extreme stretch and is actually traditionally used as kind of a transitional or resting period on the rings in gymnastics. So for example, dropping out of a cross into a German hang. This exercise can be used as a strengthening move when it comes to things like the back lever, but today we're going to be looking at it from a specifically flexibility and mobility focus. This video is going to cover some form cues and then some good progressions to go for to make the most out of this stretch. If you are interested in using this exercise for a little bit more of a movement and strength focus, then I would highly recommend a tutorial by Gold Medal Bodies, which is Ryan Hurst and the crew over there. They have a fantastic video and I'll link that down below on how you can do that. So let's look at some of the important form cues that we need to think about when it comes to stretching with the German hang position. The first form cue to mention is that we want to make sure that we maintain a good active lockout of the arms at all times. We don't want to be performing this exercise with bent arms. This isn't going to get the most bang for your buck, but we also don't want to be just chilling out on the joint. We want to make sure we have some form of tension for the elbow. We're going to have to tense both the bicep and the tricep to make sure that that joint is stable in the stretch. That's an important cue to remember throughout this video. The second form cue that we want to consider is that when we're performing this stretch, we want to make sure that our palms are facing the ground at all times. So whether we're using the bar, which will actually fix our hands in this position, or if we use the rings where we have a little bit more movement, we want to try and think about making sure that we have those palms facing the ground at all times. This will ensure the most stretch over the entire fascia into the arm and into the chest. So those are the two main form cues to consider. Before we move to the progression, just understand that this stretch is quite extreme in terms of the range of motion that you need to have to be able to perform it. With that in mind, this isn't a dangerous exercise, but there is a dangerous level of lack of preparedness that could be had when going into this. So just make sure that you progress slowly as you go through these exercises and leave yourself time to build up that range of motion and build up the conditioning and the tendons so that you don't injure yourself, basically. What we need to do is essentially work out how we can load this up incrementally and we can build up that shoulder extension over time. So one of my personal favorite progressions is something that I would actually call the German pull. And for this exercise, you can use a bar or rings. So all we're gonna do is we can grab a bar or we can grab some rings and we can grab it behind us. And all you're gonna do is you're gonna walk out until it brings your hands behind you into a point of stretch and then go into a lunge position. From here, we want to think about keeping the chest tall, driving forward with that leg, and then opening those shoulders up into extension. So this position now, we should be able to get a pretty decent stretch in shoulder extension. This is going to be mimicking the German hang, but we're going to be using a lot of support of our body weight on our legs. This is really stage one. This is just getting used to and getting to a point where you have a decent amount of range of motion in shoulder extension so that you can then start on the German hang itself. You can then progressively increase the height of these rings or these bars to make the stretch more and more intense. From here, it's best to just jump into some form of German hang training. Now, I would recommend the rings for this simply because it makes these progressions a lot easier. It is a little bit awkward to do on a bar. So what you're gonna do, the first thing is to set the rings at roughly sternum height. Now from here, what we can do is we can step through the rings again and we can move into a position of shoulder extension by sinking down, maintaining all the same form cues as before. The idea here is that we're placing a little bit more load than we did with the original lunge position in which our legs were taking a majority of it. Here you should be able to apply a little bit of loading to the biceps in that shoulder extension position. Again, we can hold this for 30 to 60 seconds and you kind of need to pay attention and just try to progressively take a little bit more weight off those feet and more weight applied to the hands. The next stage on from this would be to add a dynamic element to this exercise. Now to do this, all we're going to do is we're going to keep the rings at exactly the same height as we previously had them, jump up into an inverted hang, tuck up, drop back nice and slowly into a German hang position, but we want to just make sure that we place our feet onto the floor as we start feeling a little bit too much load come into those shoulders. We can then go down as far as we can using our legs to support us into that deep German hang and then just hold that position. As you feel more comfortable with this, you can then basically start to elevate the height of the rings, and this means that we're going to have more and more range of motion in which we are going to be controlling and holding ourselves our own body weight without those legs to assist. It will obviously get to the point with this exercise that you get so high up that your feet aren't going to touch the floor, and at that point you're basically holding a German hang. Now that is kind of it. The simple progressions, I don't like to make things too complicated. I think things should be kept simple. However, I do want to give you a bonus exercise and something that is going to be fantastic for you to include, that's going to help to condition the shoulder, the bicep, the elbow in shoulder extension. And what that is actually a weighted exercise, and that is a supinated curl lying on a bench with the shoulders in extension. Now you can vary the incline of the bench to make this exercise more intense or less intense. Obviously, the more vertical you are, the least amount of shoulder extension is going to be needed to perform the exercise. As you drop that bench back, the more shoulder extension is going to be needed. When you're lying in a comfortable position on the bench, you can then simply perform curls using a weight with your shoulder in this position, and that's going to help build up some strength and some conditioning with your shoulder and extension. This is a great exercise to help with your German hang, but it's also going to help with things like the back cleaver, dips, a whole host of things. Again, reps will vary for all of these. I recommend holding the German hang itself for 30 to 60 seconds. That tends to work pretty well. The curls can kind of be done for whatever, really. But that has been it for this episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed the very simple progressions and a logical way to scale the German hang, and that very special bonus exercise. I guarantee it will be useful for many of you out there if you're interested in bodyweight skills, calisthenics. That has been it for this week, guys. As I said at the beginning of this video, if you have any suggestions for another Do It Right series, don't hesitate to leave a comment down below and get your opinion in there. If you just enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button. I would greatly appreciate the support of this channel. Whilst you're down there, you can also hit that subscribe button and join the Bodyweight Warrior tribe. But that has been it for this week, guys. I will catch you in the next episode. Have a strong week and peace.